Welcome to the Day 2 Podcast, episode 10, how Amazon is raising product prices on the entire internet. That's right. There are a lot of fancy ways to grow sales on Amazon, none of which will work if your product availability is affected by things like out of stocks, delistings, search suppressions, and yes, buy box suppression. Buy box suppression equals sales suppression, and it's Amazon's way of enforcing what used to be called pricing parity. Buy box suppression is how Amazon is raising prices on the entire internet and maintaining low prices against competitors with lower price structures. Is it illegal? I don't know. But this Amazon practice does one thing: it pisses sellers off. Stay tuned. We're going to tell you what it is, what to do about it, and why it proves that Amazon is likely a monopoly. I'm Jason Boyce, founder and CEO of Avenue 7 Media, co-author of The Amazon Jungle, now available in audio format, and host of the Day 2 Podcast. With me today is Shannon Roddy, Amazon strategist, educator, and biz dev lead for Avenue 7 Media. Shannon, what's cooking?
Jason, we're talking about price parity. We're talking about buy box suppression, and this is a huge topic and a huge episode. So I don't want to waste any time. Let's dive in and get started.
Shannon, this is a really tricky topic, and I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to government folks working in the government, members of the press, and it's always at least an hour-long discussion. We're going to try to condense that for our listeners and viewers today, but it's a really tricky one. And, I just spoke to a press member about it last week, and I thought this is going to be a great opportunity for an episode. Next time someone asks, I can just send them the episode via YouTube. But we're going to unpack this thing. It's good for information for sellers, reporters, government officials, and folks who are interested in Amazon as a whole.
Absolutely. Now, to get it started, we live in a world of unintended consequence. We've seen this all the time. Somebody intends to do one thing, and the opposite effect results. If Amazon's goal is to offer the lowest prices online, how in the world can that be causing prices to increase?
It's a good question. I know it's hard to believe. Anytime I say Amazon is raising prices on the entire internet for products, everyone looks at me like I've got something sticking out of my forehead, but it's true. And here's my take. Amazon has listed more than 1 billion products on its website. It accounts for more than half of the online market share. They have incredibly sophisticated tech. I think you taught me that they're called Amabots, which is kind of a scary name. I feel like that could be a technology horror movie, but they're out there scanning the entire internet to find products that they're selling on other people's websites and identifying what those prices are. When they do find sellers selling on other e-commerce platforms for less than they're selling on Amazon, they punish them. They take them out of the buy box. And immediately when this happens, this buy box suppression, as commonly known among sellers, your sales, your rank, your search results, everything starts to fall off a cliff. When your item gets buy box suppressed, sellers can't advertise sponsored products. You can't drive a big chunk of traffic to your listing. What matters to the organic algorithm ranking? We talked about this in previous episodes: clicks and sales. So if Amazon sees you selling for less, they see you selling for less on another platform, and they cut off your ability to drive traffic to that listing, let's say 30 to 50% of your traffic to that listing, it affects the algorithm and you start to fall off the first page of search results, and you do it quickly. So you say, well, no big deal. Sellers can just lower their price to match the other e-commerce retail where they're selling it, but they can't because Amazon's cost structure is way too high. Sellers margins are already squeezed to the minimum available margin, and they can't do anything about it. So they can't match price. So what do they have to do? They have to go to the Walmart site. They have to go to the Home Depot site. They have to go to Chewy, and they have to raise their price on that lower cost platform. So there it is. They've got to get those sales back. It's the only way they can do it. They can't lower their price to match the competitors. They've got to raise their price on a lower cost market. And so that is why, Shannon, I think that Amazon is really literally raising prices on the entire internet.
Okay, I like to look at things in a historical context. So let's go back in time for a minute and look at the history of buy box suppression and pricing. And in order to ensure that Amazon offered the lowest price available online, right, the initial Amazon flywheel, they introduced a price parity clause in their agreement that essentially said, if you want to sell on Amazon, you can't sell for less off Amazon. What was your experience, Jason, as a seller in regards to price parity?
Like I remember that first Amazon seller agreement that we signed very well. It was back in 2003, and we saw that clause and we thought, oh, that's interesting. And then we didn't pay much attention to it. And it was so long ago, Shannon. We lowered our prices on our own website compared to Amazon because we had to pay them their 15%. And I used to get phone calls from Amazon saying, Jason, you need to match your price on your website compared to mine. And when someone gives you a phone call and calls you out like that, it's a little embarrassing. So we're like, fine, we'll do pricing parity. Or then we would launch on another marketplace and we would think, oh, the bots aren't scouring that website. We'll just offer it for less there because we think it's a lower price channel. And guess what? I'd get the phone call. Eventually, it became an email. And then eventually, they did nothing. And then about 2009, I got another seller agreement. I got really excited because for the first time, it said in that pricing parity clause that I could now offer my products for less on my own website.
Just on your own website.
Just on my own website. That was it. And so I got really excited about that. On the other hand, it was like Amazon saying, we're so much bigger than you. We don't even care about you, tiny e-commerce direct to consumer website, but whatever. So we did it. Ultimately, it created a lot of channel conflict. So shoppers who bought on Amazon would call us and yell at us, why are you selling it for less? So ultimately, we decided that pricing parity was the best strategy for us. But then in 2014, maybe 2013, I can't remember the exact date, we got our new seller agreement. We looked at it. We're looking for that pricing parity clause, and it's not there, Shannon. And I thought, sweet, Amazon's so powerful now, they don't care what we price on any other sales channel. So we immediately lowered our prices on the Walmart, Sears at Sears.com, on Wayfair, and some of the other channels. And the next day we came into the office and sales on all of our top sellers were down about 30% from the previous day. And we're like, what is going on? So we start clicking, we start searching, and we click on our listing. Like the listing is there. I can see it. But then we noticed this little grayed out box that said, see all buying options. It didn't have the big add to cart or buy now, those big bright yellow or orange buttons. It just said, see all buying options. And then I clicked on that and I saw, okay, we're the only seller in the buy box. So where's the beef? What's going on? Then my ads manager came to me and said, Jason, our traffic is down 30%, something like that. It's 30 or 40%. And I was like, what? So we started to sleuth and look at those ads pointing, and it was mostly sponsored products back then.
Right.
It was about all you could do as a seller back in 2013. And we figured it out that all of a sudden the ads that we were sending to these listings had turned off, and our clicks, remember that algorithm, clicks and sales matter, our clicks had dropped 30 or 40%, and so were our sales, and so is our organic ranking. And so through trial and error, we matched prices on some of the other channels, and then all of a sudden the yellow and orange buy box, or the yellow and orange buttons pop back in, and all of a sudden our sales picked back up, and we were like, you dirty bastards. You tell us, you get rid of the clause, but instead you invent this technology that basically enforces the pricing parity policy without anyone really knowing or without really anyone understanding. And even back then, there was no notification. We'll talk later in the episode about where you can go to find out which of your products are not a featured offer in the buy box, which is Amazon euphemism for we're screwing you over until you raise your prices on the other e-commerce platforms, Shannon.
So I want to talk about just the buy box for a minute. For some of our listeners, maybe more or less educated on this aspect of it. For a new seller, for example, on Amazon, it may take them some time to achieve what's called feature merchant status or now featured offer eligibility. Amazon sort of makes you earn that right to win the buy box. So you could be the only seller and not winning the buy box for a variety of reasons. Sometimes adding your products as FBA will allow you to win the buy box. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about established sellers with proven track records in history, perfect customer service records, great seller feedback, who do not have the ability when a customer goes to that page to easily click that, like you said, giant orange button that says add to cart, buy now. Okay, so now that we know what the buy box is, let's talk a little bit more about buy box suppression and how it works on Amazon.
Sure. So again, it's called a featured offer eligibility. The buy box is an Amazon technology. It was a patented technology. It still is, but the patent has expired. It was how Amazon in the early days got as many sellers as possible selling the same product in order to drive prices down. I learned about the buy box the hard way when Amazon started attaching to the listings that I was selling, and I started losing the buy box in my sales. And so the buy box is a really important part of selling and having success selling on Amazon. If you're not the buy box owner, then you're just going to get a fraction of the sales that you would if you weren't the buy box, if you're not the buy box owner. And so it's very important that you're the buy box owner. So when you have the buy box, if I'm just an average shopper, I'm searching for a tennis racket. I go to tennis racket and I see, oh, there's a good tennis racket. I like the price, and I hit buy now. And let's say that there's 12 sellers attached and selling that same product. The buy box winner is who I'm actually buying from. It may be Amazon, it may be a seller, it may be anyone. And so if I have that buy box, my sales are looking really strong, right?
Right.
And so when they take that away from, and look, very few of our clients allow sellers to attach to their listing in the buy box. They're the only seller in the buy box. So you might ask, if you're the only seller in the buy box, what's the big deal? What happens is when they take you out of the buy box and those orange and yellow buttons go away, you lose a lot of traffic, because all of a sudden your sponsored products aren't driving traffic to them anymore and they go away. And
Yeah.
so as soon as that happens, the ranking algorithm, instead of working in favor with you, starts to work against you, and your sales and everything drop off a click. You can still click the box, and
Yeah.
Amazon's lawyers are like, oh, we're still making it available. It's not a big deal, but it's a huge deal to sellers, and it has to be addressed quickly whenever it happens.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. That one-click checkout is so valuable. And when Amazon started offering that, I mean, sales on Amazon just went through the roof. So to remove that, and again, that keep it simple, mindset, now a customer has to actually search for, where do I go to find those other offers? And I think there's probably a lot of subconscious aspects to it as well. It definitely gets less visibility in search, in organic search. It definitely gets less visibility in sponsored products, because all the ads stop. But like you said, there's definitely some manipulation going on that seems pretty strong and pretty impactful, because they're really playing with prices. So if Amazon is raising prices off Amazon because of how big they are, they literally have the ability to raise prices on the entire internet.
Yeah, it's absolutely the case. And I get into arguments all the time with folks who disagree with this premise, but it's actually happening. It's 100% happening. Remember, there's more than 1 billion products listed. They own half of the online market share. And I get into arguments all the time where someone will say, well, why doesn't the seller just leave Amazon?
Sure.
Okay, if you have half of your sales through a channel online, and you decide because of bad behavior of that very powerful channel, you're going to stop selling to them, and your revenue cuts in half overnight, you might as well turn off the lights forever. You're out of business.
Yeah.
You can't continue under those circumstances, even if you're only doing 30%. A 30% reduction in your revenue is going to cause you may not have to close the lights, but you're going to have to fire your staff. You can't make payroll. You can't pay your lease. You can't pay for your storage. It's a really bad scenario. So Amazon has so much power, and some might say monopoly power. Certainly Senator Amy Klobuchar is, as she tries to push her legislation through Congress right now. They have so much power that they're not fearful of competition. They can control the seller and can control pricing on the entire internet because of their size and strength. They're massive. They're a runaway train that's building up speed, not slowing down, and sellers are beholden to them. They can't just turn it off. They can't, Shannon.
Now, Amazon doesn't say, hey, seller, you need to lower your prices. They actually don't say that, but they actually have a section in the brand dashboard under brand health that's called price competitiveness. And when you hover over the information tab, it says keeping your prices sharp may improve your chances of becoming the featured offer on the product detail page.
Sharp.
Why do you think
Keeping
they
your
use
prices sharp.
that?
That's amazing. That's amazing. So that's something that a lawyer changed, right?
Right.
What the merchandisers wanted to say was to keep your prices low,
Right.
right? And be the lowest price or match the lowest price across the entire internet. And I guarantee you an Amazon lawyer looked at that and said, no, 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 no. We're not going to say low. We're going to say sharp,
Right. Keeping your
because
prices
everyone
sharp.
will know what we're talking about, but we won't get in trouble legally.
But
Right?
Amazon essentially presents this as a problem. If you have a listing that's suspended or suppressed or negative reviews, Amazon will say, this is a problem. You need to go fix it. And they do that with these price issues. And they say, Jason, you have a pricing problem. You need to fix it. And they give you two options. One, you can enable their auto pricer that will just automatically match, i.e., lower your price on Amazon to any other website that Amazon's Amabots find. Or two, you can manually update the price, but they're presenting it as a problem to be resolved by adjusting your prices.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that automatic pricing tool is great. Not only will it lower your price, but it'll make you lose money on every sale and put you out of business. So I hate those automated pricing uh, items, and this is exactly what they're doing. And look, monopoly is a tricky subject, right?
Right.
I'm not a lawyer, so let's just say that first and
Also not a
foremost.
lawyer.
Shannon just plays one on TV. But here's the thing. Consumer benefit is one of those issues that helps you decide whether a company is a monopoly or not. In the 1980s, there was a lot of monopolistic case law that came out that said, hey, we don't care what a company does so long as the end consumer is not affected. And I always say, number one, guess what? Amazon sellers are one of the most profitable customers, clients of Amazon services, right? So let's start there. But let's set that aside for a second. They all think that what Amazon is doing is driving prices down for the end consumer. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. It is absolutely not the case because Walmart has a lower cost structure to sell products on Walmart. And there are millions of sellers who are inflating their prices on Walmart where it costs them less to sell, especially when their ad costs are a lot less so far on Walmart. They have to raise their price on Walmart in order to keep their sales running and live on Amazon. Now, that creates a very big competitive advantage for Amazon against Walmart. Imagine if Amazon sellers had the ability to sell whatever the price they want to, whatever a profitable price would be on each marketplace.
Right.
Walmart might grow faster. They
Right.
might get more shoppers. The word might get out that Walmart has lower prices than everyone. And that would be good for consumers. It would be good for competition. Hell, it'd be good for America, right? But Amazon's so powerful that that's not happening.
Well, and I had a client that I was working with last year, Jason, and this is Amazon and Walmart playing off each other, right? So Walmart started picking up the same game. So they were selling their product on Amazon for a retail price. And then they also had subscribe and save, which, if you're not familiar with subscribe and save, it gives the customer anywhere between a 5 to 15% discount if they reorder every month. Walmart was looking at their subscribe and save price and saying, hey, brand, you need to match your price on Walmart with Amazon subscribe and save 15% off the retail price. Well, they tried that temporarily. Amazon came back and said, hey, seller, brand, you need to match your retail price to Walmart's price. And of course, it was this endless cycle of comparing the Amazon, subscribe and save price to the Walmart price to the Amazon retail price. And again, it creates this cyclical, downward spiral, loss of profit for the brand. It only benefits the two platforms, and even then, not necessarily, really, but it becomes an endless cycle of frustration because these platforms are trying to control what people price, and they are penalizing them or giving them benefits based on matching prices off Amazon. I don't know, Jason, it sounds a lot like price fixing to me on some level.
Yeah, again, look, I don't know what the definition of price fixing is, but they're certainly controlling the entire market online. And this idea of competitors checking out prices of other competitors, it happened in the 80s and 90s as well. There were these companies out there called mystery shoppers that could go to your competitors' aisles, walk the aisles, write down and capture all the prices, and then put together a report and share that so that everyone can compete on price. That's fine. But in today's big tech world, they have perfected this model. And I always go back to the number of SKUs in a Walmart superstore. It's
Right.
anywhere from 150,000 to 200,000, which is a lot, right? So you can imagine how much work those mystery shopper companies had to do to identify what the retail prices are. Amazon's got over a billion listings. And with the push of a button and through Amabots and bots and tech, they can literally every single day, multiple times a day, identify what their competitors are selling at. And they're using that intel very effectively for them to prop up their retail prices in order to make sure that they're considered the lowest price. And it's just not okay. It's
Yeah.
not okay.
We'll talk a little bit about this more, but I mean, sometimes the challenge is because they're using the UPC code initially as the base. I think there's probably more data that they're gathering and comparing, but sometimes it could be Joe Schmo who bought 3 of your products on discount and is just reselling them to their website. And Amazon is saying, hey, you
Right.
need to match Joe Schmo's website because they listed this product for $5 less. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I see that happen where eBay listing will be a lower price. It's not even a new product, and it gets caught up in the bots, and the brand gets suppressed, and they call us at Have 7, and they're like, "Wow, I don't know who that is. I'm not selling on eBay. What's going on?"
Right.
And then we have to take action and reach out to eBay and all that. It's a whole mess. But yeah, it's really painful for sellers. It's really tricky for sellers. And look, if you're a seller out there and you want to know what to do, you can go to the manage inventory page in Seller Central and go to the brand health section, and that will tell you where Amazon thinks you have an issue with price competitiveness, or you're no longer a featured offer in your own buy box. And so that will point in the direction of what the other price they caught with their bots out on the internet is.
Right.
And it pains me to say this, Shannon, but sellers, when they see this happen, they either need to lower their price on Amazon, which I know they can't do
Right.
because they're barely making any money now as Amazon fees continue to rise. They need to go find where that listing is and raise it off of Amazon, because the risk of loss of sales is tremendous, tremendous. I had a client, Shannon, once that was selling a product. It's like a pillbox type of product that had an app associated with it.
Yeah.
They were a top seller on Amazon. They got excited because they realized that they could sell on the Walmart marketplace, and they started selling on the Walmart marketplace. Well, one of Walmart's bots got a hold of it, much like your story, and started lowering the retail price. Immediately, their buy box got suppressed on Amazon. Within a week, they'd lost 30% of their sales. They kept going back to Walmart and saying, "Stop doing this. Get me out of here." Their contact at Walmart couldn't pull them out of this automated price reduction tool that was run amok on the Walmart platform. By about a week and a half, they were down 40% on Amazon. So what
Wow.
did they do? They did the smartest thing that they could do. And it's just obnoxious to even say that this is what they had to do. They went to Walmart, and what did they do? They pulled their listing off of Walmart,
Yep.
eliminating the competition for Amazon because they couldn't lose any more sales.
Mm-hmm.
It was already a lost month. They were already upside down for the month. And so if that doesn't describe monopoly power, I just don't know what does.
So, Jason, what are some other strategies that brands and sellers can take if they do need to raise their prices on Amazon? Because sometimes you lose. There's a sort of the pricing aspect of, there's algorithms that get triggered if a product is being sold for $20 one day and then $50 the next. But
Yeah.
say there's opportunity for incremental price increase. What are some strategies that sellers can take to do that so that they don't trigger the algorithms?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we already talked about if you're selling your product somewhere lower off of Amazon, you can get buy box suppressed, but raising your prices too fast can also get you tanked and buy box suppressed as well. And so, through extensive trial and error, we found that if you're let's say your supplier raised your price 30% and you need to raise your retail price 15, 20% in order to cover your costs and not lose money. Well, you can't do that overnight without being buy box suppressed. And so, well, the tactic that we've found is you can raise that price no more than about 2% every 2 or 3 days. So talk about an annoyance, Shannon.
Yeah.
You're getting hammered by your supplier. All of a sudden, your product became unprofitable because we're in the age of inflation again, and you can't raise your price to cover your costs. You have to do it 2% every 2 or 3 days.
Right.
Now, imagine if you had a price increase across 150 products. You have to do that strategy across 150 products, and you got better things to do, right? But they're not letting you do it on Amazon. I'm all about, if someone raises their price 50%, maybe if there's price gouging happening, but 2%, really? Come on. So, folks, look, making your product available is the blocking and tackling required to win on Amazon. Stay in stock. If you're suppressed buy box suppress, search suppress, take immediate action. Um, and also if folks are coming in and hitchhiking on your private label brand and selling for less, kick them off.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Jason, I've got another really practical tip, and this is, goes back to the Amabot UPC code issue, which is I had a client sort of discover this accidentally. So they sold their product into retail. It was sold at Bed Bath and Beyond for $29.95, and they also sold a product, but it was sort of in a brown box, just a brown shipping container, and it had its own unique UPC code. That's just what it had been issued. That's how we set it up on Amazon. And so because of that, we're looking at prices. Amazon is raising their fees, right? So it's not okay for Amazon to say, we're raising your fees. You can't raise your prices, right? So FBA fees are getting higher. The container cost went from $5,000 to $15,000 per container. So we've got cost of goods increases. And because there was a unique UPC code on Amazon, Amazon didn't have anything to compare that with off Amazon. And so we tried raising it to $34.95, no problems. We raised it to $37. Eventually, we got it up to $39.95, $10 more than we were selling it into retail at Bed Bath and Beyond. No issues, no price comparison, no price parity issues, no buy box suppression, and zero reduction in conversion rate. And you've always talked about this. Once your listing is built, once it's solid gold, you can actually increase prices and defy the laws of gravity. So I've got sellers that I've coached in the past, Jason, who are like, I am never listing a new product on Amazon without giving its own unique UPC code that is only on Amazon, because I don't want Amazon comparing off Amazon. But of course, from a logistical standpoint, that can be a nightmare. I mean, having to have separate inventory from the factory, separate barcodes, the ability to sell multi-channel is the protection that brands have. And in some cases, it sounds like, and it seems like Amazon's handicapping that.
Yeah, Shannon, it's a really good point. This has been a strategy for retailers all the way back to when Sears ruled the world of retail. You're a manufacturer, you make a product, you want to be in Sears, so you change happy to glad on your product. Maybe it's a packaging change, maybe it's an additional feature that costs you 25 cents more, but that way that product is exclusively being sold, at least according to the Sears buyer, exclusively being sold to Sears. And then you can change happy to glad for your other retail channels or for your mom and pop channels or your distributors. But it's really hard to do if you're $1 million seller, right? It's really hard to do because what matters to you is to get as much volume with your supplier as you can so your costs can go down.
Right.
If you have to take an order of 5,000 units, 10,000 units and split it up into fourths, and the factory has to work more, you can't get that volume break. So it becomes really challenging. And I will say this, Shannon, I've even seen examples where people don't do a great job and they just change the UPC code. Amazon's bots are pretty smart, and they can identify something that is almost identical, even if it does have a different UPC code. And I imagine they're going to continue to get smarter because of this very strategy that you talk about. If you can get away with it, great. If you're big enough where you can have your supplier do two different runs of very similar products, but change happy to glad,
right,
and you can have unique SKUs and UPC codes and product titles, et cetera, and maybe even slightly different copy and images on Amazon than you do on the other channels, it is a good way to protect yourself against this terrible, terrible thing called buy box suppression.
Okay, Jason, so you've given some practical tips and strategies that sellers and brands can employ to help deal with this buy box issue and buy box suppression issue. Clearly, Amazon doesn't really seem to be making any changes on behalf of the seller that are going to help sellers and brands. What else can be done, and whose responsibility is it to help make these critical changes that's really going to help protect brands and sellers?
Well, look, it's really when a company reaches potentially monopolistic size, it's Congress's job. It's the FTC's job, right? It's their job to enforce the laws to prevent companies from getting either too big to fail or so big that both the consumer, on the monopoly side, the consumer isn't negatively impacted, or on a monopsony side where a seller has no choice but to sell on that platform, right? And so Congress had been asleep at the wheel. Everybody loves Amazon. Hell, Shannon, Amazon's polling numbers are better than Congress's polling numbers by like 10 times because everyone likes their app and they like having their stuff delivered to their door by the next day, right? And so Congress has been asleep at the wheel for a very long time. as Amazon very stealthily took over this incredibly market-sized power. Now it's Congress' turn to act. And there's a lot of bills that are sitting in Congress right now waiting for approval. Amy Klobuchar's bill is one. There's some bills out there in terms of trying to prevent Amazon from selling its own products on the marketplace. I'm glad and I'm happy. There's attorney general's offices all over the country, states who are looking to take legal action against Amazon to protect competition and the consumers in their districts and their states. But I like it, but I got to tell you, the easiest way to open up competition, in my opinion, outlaw the practice of buy box suppression, which we just talked about. If a marketplace can have no pricing power over the sellers that are its customers selling on its platform, I think that opens up the marketplace in a cleaner way. The second thing that I think can be done is outlawing this practice of forced arbitration in order for the right to sell on the platform. The best way to sort out these issues is in the courts. If somebody was getting suppressed, or if any seller had any hope at winning a court case or the ability to create a class action suit together, which is not possible under the current seller agreements, if they could do that and they could sue Amazon
Right.
to prevent this practice, well, that would also open up. But these agreements are so heavily favored. They heavily favor Amazon, and there's nothing they can do about it. So Congress, yes, they need to do something. I'm kind of lukewarm on whether if a bill even gets passed before the midterms, anything can happen. But legislation needs to be introduced that prevents Amazon from preventing the ability of real customers like Amazon sellers from organizing and collectively suing a big behemoth like Amazon.
I could be opening up a can of worms, but I was pretty surprised to be on vacation and I saw a nice little commercial that basically warned, if any action is taken against Amazon, those low prices that we love and that quick free 2-day delivery is all going to go away. Is there some manipulation there, Jason, that we should be aware of?
That's absolute manipulation. And Amazon has put, big tobacco money behind lobbying Congress to change these rules and to even change legislation that's on Congress's floor right now. They've also had this PR campaign out there trying to scare sellers into thinking that if Congress does act, then it's going to be bad for their business. But I always tell sellers it's the opposite. If competition can be opened up and you, seller, now have an option to get a decent amount of business on 2, 3, or 5 other online marketplaces, that is better for you, because more competition among the marketplaces, they have to compete for you, and
Right.
that will drive your costs down. So don't buy into that crap. It's 100% a big money, like I said, big tobacco money, advertising campaign and PR campaign to try to dissuade and scare constituents from allowing action to be taken that's long overdue, frankly.
Jason, I'd love for you to give us a quick recap of the episode and then instruct our listeners, if they're struggling with price parity issues, buy box suppression, how they can get in touch with us and our team and schedule a call to talk about how we can help them through Avenue 7.
Yeah, absolutely. And sure, it's just a quick analysis. Buy box suppression is sales suppression. It's a nasty, dirty tactic, and Amazon are jerks for enforcing it on sellers. I don't like it. When you get buy box suppressed, take immediate action. Either raise your price on that other channel or lower your price and incrementally increase your price about 2% every 2 or 3 days until you can get to that profitable level again. And then, lastly, don't be frightened by congressional action. It's needed, it's long overdue, and ultimately, I believe the result will be that more marketplaces will launch and live and allow sellers to have more choices in where to take their business and where to take their sales. And so, look, if you're ready to start growing and protecting your brand on Amazon with a team of experienced Amazon operators, you can visit us at day2podcast.com. That's day2podcast.com. And lastly, if you know anyone that would gain value from listening to our podcast, please tell them about us. Thanks for listening and happy selling.